Welcome back, Universus. I'm Levi coming back in the caster seat. My good man, Barrett Bryan, is still with me, and holy cow, it's time for these finals, and we have a true battle of the teams. Forget the characters, forget the decks, forget the players even. It's all about the colors on the shirts right now. Orange versus the pink and blue. Rochester and unfun stuff. We have Kevin Broberg versus Colby Cram. The bird and the rogue? Vigilante?
Teacher, the professor,
teacher? I guess he's a teacher.
The
yeah.
mediator.
The mediator. The sleepy guy. I erase you, me when I get eepy. This is going to be insane.
Teacher and student might even. HLC winner, top cuts contender, unfun stuff player, right? Absolutely. It's one of those things to where, like, both seven-handers, both doing this aggressive kind of card pool efficiency game plan, right? One of the death symbol, this, like, cheap, efficient attacks versus, like, I'm going to get plus to all my checks and jump into these kind of things. This is first and second seed in our tournament.
Amazing. Amazing. All I have to say about this matchup, Barrett, is we're gonna see a lot of Twisting Azure Inferno.
Yes, we are.
This match is on fire.
No, absolutely. And one of these literally on fire, right? With the fire symbol.
God.
That's one of the strongest openings
Kevin
you
can't
could
be
go
stopped.
for.
Kevin
Now,
can't be stopped.
no brute strength, which I think is going to be important against this matchup with the minus damage coming from Tokoyami every single time. But also not opening a bracers, which is an asset. You don't necessarily need to at the beginning.
But brother, we opened our one of learning the standards against Tokoyami.
We did.
That's kind of disrespectful of us.
It's a little rough.
That's a little rude, dude. Like churlish even.
But if there's any Tokoyami symbol that can get through it, it is the forcing surrender one, right?
Ooh,
I mean,
true, bestie.
Being able to weave one in, but I do think that's only reliant and dependent on how many Azures do we find that turn. Because
Right.
still eating up the +3 to the check from a Summon Dark Shadow is really bad.
That's
right?
the big interaction, right?
Yes.
I'll summon Dark Shadow. I guess this is the one that I'm going to take and learning you on now, so that when you build your foundation on a 2, you have +3 to your check. Now figure it out after that. At the same time, though, man, we can just wait to make till we're making the biggest move possible, and that's the one we summon Dark Shadow on. Hey, if you want to learning me, you're taking 11 from this dummy of your 19 health. That's rough. And then Colby can just stop.
Yep.
Right? Unless he's in a situation where it's like, nah, if we pass, we're definitely dead, right? Obviously, those are semantics, but there are ways to weave around this game state.
It's also just one of those things as well, what we've seen in not only Tokoyami lists in general, but what this deck is doing as well is the incremental board committal. If you try and wait too long to use the learning the standard, you might get a surprise giant ice wall slung on you and things committed, or if a frozen eventually could get built on Colby's side of the board, things are slowly going to get committed, and you have to not only then decide, am I going to learning the standards, unblock an attack, but I'm also removing a foundation from my stage while the other cards are getting committed.
I definitely don't like debuilding myself.
No,
Barrett.
I do not either.
I'm only trying to do it if it's going to stop the thing that kills me. At the same time, though, the ice wall point, that's very important because we sure have 0 pieces of stun hate in this death symbol deck.
Yeah.
They're just not here. The blood evaluation that we built is the closest thing I can say we have as far as, that's just once we get momentum.
Exactly.
We're seeing a very healthy second build turn from Kevin here. And, for all the preaching that we've said about this deck not really having defense in the deck, it's all on Eraserhead himself. We have so many defensive pieces on board.
I agree. I mean, even just committal -2 speed kind of thing coming from the learning to hardens, or just the survivals giving us -1 without having to commit anything once per turn.
Between double surviving the finals and double learning to harden, we have 4 free pieces of -1 speed.
Yes.
Right. Because learning to harden is -2, but it commits itself, so it's really like 1 free 1. That's 4 free points on our character already -2 to everything with the learning on board. And double circling with studies. We already talked about how insane double circling with studies is, especially against, again, another deck that really threatens you primarily with high attacks, right?
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, there is a one threatening, not high attack, and it's Twisting Azure.
Yeah.
The mid one that we always have the perfect block for because we're Eraserhead.
It almost feels like the worst attack to be slinging against this Eraserhead deck, but like I said, in conjunction with the a lot of speed that we're going to be getting, the minus to your checks, and the lust for battles, right? We have to always consider whenever the lust for battles get triggered, one of them is in our stage, right? So if there's a world where we can actually blow up our foundations and get these extra added minus checks stacking up.
Frozen, right?
Yeah, it's really just frozen, but I do think that might be a key foundation to find in this matchup, right? And the only reason I say that as well, I think Kevin is still going to be looking to build because there's still not a brute strength on the board, and there's still not a bracers.
We built a single combo piece. No brute strength, no bracers, no tight-lipped.
No.
We haven't built any of our combo pieces. Now, we did build 2 things that say when destroyed, draw 1, so we can find those pieces if we like.
We got to destroy it. How are we going to do that right now?
That is the issue. That is the
Fierce
issue.
Whirlwind's the only way.
Right? We have to embark upon a line that essentially goes in for that lethal turn without having it at the start of it and hopes to draw, which is like just not a level of risk taking that I think Kevin is interested in whatsoever. But I do think it's probably time to start poking at least, because if you let Colby sculpt, 5 attacks, 2 summon Dark Shadows, like it doesn't matter what your struggling and your minus speeds and all those points are, we're gonna blow up.
It's actually exactly the way that we kind of saw it work out. Whenever Colby would go in on a turn last match during the last round was. He would always have 3 summon Dark Shadows, because it was typically he'd pick one up on his turn, not use it, pass turn. His opponent would attempt to try and reciprocate some aggression. He would he would pick one up on defense going into the second one, and if you hold on to those going into your next attack turn, you pick another one up on the discard pile, and that's the perfect 4 orange cards, 3 blue ones.
Holy cow. That's that's not the scariest hand we could have.
We did draw the Frozen.
We did draw the Frozen, which is like Kevin found his very impactful one of with learning the standards, we found our very impactful one of with the Frozen, which I think is very funny.
Now, a Night Watch coming off on the other side, we found the Brute Strength for Kevin, we found the Night Watch, and so it's just like, you got to look all disruption pieces from Night Watch, learning the standards, struggling with studies to loop our blocks, and now we also just have a plethora of Speed Hate, and we have the one big combo piece, the Brute Strength. Now, we still don't have a Bracer, but the fact is that all these foundations that we have, which, by the way, I mean, we're building pretty wide now as Kevin. We're at 11 foundations. We are in deadlock. But I can tell you one thing about this Colby list and the fire symbol, just most in general in this list, there's one deadlock card. It's Ice Storm.
Yeah, it's just Ice Storm. So we can build pretty freely here, which I think we have to, right? Because we've already put a lot of the speed reduction pieces on board. We can't get rid of those just yet. We need them to survive, but we also need to put our damage pieces on board, like the Brute Strength and whatnot. Notably speaking, we have a Night Watch sit on the board as well.
Yes.
One of the best things that people have cited forever is, you open Night Watch against Tokoyami, you Night Watch actions don't count towards progressive, and then you're probably chilling from there, right?
Yeah.
Now the hard part is blocking on top of that, but we're not on turn 2, right? We're on turn 4, right? And we have so many other foundations and a ton of speed reduction. So I think Kevin's in a really, really good spot. But it does feel like if we don't start stopping Colby's sculpt a little bit, I don't think it matters what we build up.
Remember, this is still a showdown deck. Having the Night Watch to cancel the ability like that one, or even canceling like an Azure Enhance, right, is going to be that we still have things like showdowns in our that we can snap cancel the Summon Dark Shadows as well. So the tricky thing, though, is that when you go to start trying to decide if you want to cancel a Summon Dark Shadow is, well, how many more do they have in their hand? Yeah. They can just play another one.
You're never allowed to cancel the first Summon Dark Shadow, IMO. In my opinion, I don't think you're ever allowed to do that, which makes it a little awkward. But the good part about like showdown as opposed to something like Night Watch, right, is that it sits in your hand and hides.
Yes.
So then if you do go to play that second Summon Dark Shadow, get a little greedy on me, you don't weave them properly. Now come in with the cancel. Now you got those 2 blue cards in your card pool counting towards progressive because I Night Watched your ruin, and you got to figure out how to play the next one without +3 to your check.
It's going to be one of those, like, Colby has to like strategically sculpt probably the best attacks he could find.
And he's got to weave them. He's got to weave them so properly.
It's one of those things to where it's like maybe we don't feel comfortable going in until we find like 2 Infernos, 2 ruins, because if he's going to cancel the first actions ignore, we have a second one, right? It could be a situation where those are the specific cards we're looking for, and as we're doing all of that, we're also frozening down our opponent's board. So the thing is, Kevin's going to feel like he can go to deadlock, but Colby's not allowed to. This is a Vile Seizing deck. We're not allowed to go to 11 foundations with this snap, play a Vile Seizing -2 to our checks. That will be the reason that Colby will not be able to block a full-on attack string that's coming through. But I also think Kevin being the first one to actually put on an aggression, like with this Azure Inferno lead, I don't know if this is just a bait or I think we should be afraid of if Kevin has to overcommit here, Colby will backswing.
I think we're going to do a little bit of digging. Maybe try and get ourselves out of deadlock, pop some of our learning hardens with the root strength we got now.
Oh, true, that'd be great.
Proc a Twisting Azure Enhance. Kind of scare Colby a little bit, make him feel a little vulnerable, even with his 10 foundations, right? Notably speaking, as far as the deadlock game is concerned, there's also a Night Watch sitting in Kevin's board. In the event that we don't want to cancel a Dark Shadow Ruin actions don't count enhance, that can sit there and say, oh, if you would step into deadlock, my friend, I'm going to be bouncing my Binding Cloth Captures back to my hand.
Yeah, that's true too. And that's the thing is, repeatable seal on any kind of defensive pieces that are going to be tried and used on Colby is going to be really important, right?
Especially if we get to do Cloth Capture into Cloth Capture, we get discard a card out of your hand 2 times. Oh, very, very, very backbreaking.
Yeah, so it's going to be really hard here regardless. We are using these lists for battles defensively. Which is
we milled 1 from Tokoyami. Now we're calling for backup draw, discarding the others. We got a floating fake breaker 2 now in here, which is very sick.
Yeah, I mean, eventually though, when this Azure Enhance goes off, it's only going to be an effective breaker 1, right? And the thing is too, is Colby going to feel like he wants to block this now, or is he trying to bait out? But here's my problem: if Colby doesn't block this one, I think Kevin is going to feel comfortable just keep building afterwards. I got 1 momentum. That 1 momentum feeds so many things, like an EX ability from a fierce whirlwind. That's exactly what we saw for it to end the game last time.
Those constant 10 highs, those constant 10 high whirlwinds were crazy, man. Oh,
enhance. Is this an enhance?
Oh my God, are we going for lethal?
This is how we're going to get the ability trigger, right? I mean, there's multiple ways we could have done it, right? We have a brute strength, we can leverage our vitality. We also have the learning to hardens that you can also just commit for +2 damage, right? So
we also just ate up the lust for battles, right?
Yeah,
with that?
That's true. We did enhance.
That was on a 3, and we checked the 3. That is very funny.
Yeah,
that is very funny.
One of the best ways to play around that next check hack.
We have a Vile Seizing.
Oh, there's a League of Villains. That's going to be huge.
We have 4 attacks in our hand, bro.
I don't know if it's going to be good enough.
League of Villains ain't going to do another thing. We're killing a man.
Do you think so? Do you actually think this is the turn?
He's got the Vile Seizing. He's got the Shining Flash. He has the Fierce Whirlwind. He's got the Cloth Capture. Like, I don't know, man. They're not going to kill a man. I don't know. Colby's got 5 cards in his hand.
He's got a lot of cards.
He's got 5 cards in his hand.
Block is going to be great for against the world.
He's got this breaker block now, too, so he can take away that little buff check again in a bit of a... Man, he was so ready for this breaker 3 play with the double lust for battle and the breaker block.
Funny enough, without getting too... blocking with a ruin, you never see it, but here we go. I mean, it's got a breaker 1 on it as well, right?
He's respecting,
absolutely.
He knows what Kevin's deck can do.
8 up the lust for battle minus check, still wants to do some sort of leverage. I need Kevin to commit a few more foundations here on this turn.
We do. Because, honestly speaking, with the way Kevin's board is, if Kevin plays never wanting to die, this is a very, very uphill, possibly deck-out game for Colby. So, honestly, Kevin's starting to swing into us and making an attempt at pressuring us. If we can get him to overextend and then hit him on the backswing, that's probably the actual way Colby wins this game. I don't think Colby wins this game aggressing into the fully ready stage on Kevin unless he just literally finds, Heat Wave for a 7-8 attack triple action craziness turn.
Pin that note because I think that's what's going to be really important for game 2 and potentially game 3 based off of what Colby has in his sideboard and what we saw last round. So pin that note because I think it'll be important to bring up, but that's not what's important right now. What's important is this game. There's a lot of back and forth going on here. The Vile Seasoning being able to come in for another draw. So we saw what he had earlier, but this can easily turn into more things depending on the reciprocation of the check a 7 enhance, right?
Oh, 100%. We're going to possibly draw with Vile Seizing. We have a Learning to Harden, 2 of them even to draw off of. Our Mediator is online to offensively draw if need be. We can go through a lot more cards. I think Kevin is looking at his hand right now and going, I have 5 attacks right now with potentially draw 3 to 4 cards throughout this turn. So I think I should embark on this line, start drawing through it, see where it takes me, and then continue to apply the pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I think it's actually double Binding Cloth Capture here.
Did you draw a second one?
I think so. It's double Fierce Whirlwind. It looks like another 5 difficulty move. So
no, it's Whirlwind, Capture, Shining Flash.
Oh, you're right.
Those
are the only 3. Now again,
we had those 3 plus Vile Seizing.
That currently doesn't spell lethal. So
no, not through a couple blocks, and Colby's defenses are still going to be rock solid for at least a few more moves. But again, we have all this potential draw power in our future. I think Kevin's just I'm going to embark on this line, get the scary cards out of his hand, draw some cards in the process. If I happen to draw the 6th, 7th, 8th attack, then it's time to send it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But Kevin, I think Kevin's playing this game, playing this turn right now with a very, very flexible mindset, right?
We are hard committing out for blocking this Vile Seizing, which now that this is a 100% owning up to the fact that Colby is not going to be able to pass another block. But as I kind of said, the fact that we full blocked that one, the rest of the cards in Broberg's hand, because of just only the 1 brute strength, and I think from maybe 1 learning to harden, I don't think it has.
So this is the opposite of the Rappa game, right? Where we blocked 2 attacks and then died to the last one because it was big because of the bracers, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to play like that right now as Colby because there's no bracers.
Exactly.
There's no, I know that there's a move coming in for 13 at the end, right?
Right.
It's everything is getting the same amount of damage pump because these attacks don't really buff themselves, save for more twisting azures, right? And Vile Season if we fail to check, right?
No, 100%.
But for the most part, every move after is dealing the same amount of damage as it would be regardless of blocking this one or the next one. If anything, the Vile getting +2 is the bigger one to block there. So that's the one you cash out for. And, if Kevin sent a Twisting Azure after this and we were trying to bait the block the whole time, then he's just a legend, right?
No, absolutely. And like, again, it's also just dependent on one of those things. And
Not a risk Colby can take either way.
in the same situation, there is a world, again, as you kind of stated, we have double learning to harden still not blown up in our stage. We have a way to do it. We have brute strength. This is just trying to cash in as much damage as we possibly can.
So the reason we can't destroy the learning hardens yet is because we need to destroy them with whirlwind instead. I'm sure Kevin would have liked to dig it earlier in the turn to see where it would be going, but that would be essentially losing out on the resources of the fierce whirlwind.
Yes.
Right, because you want the committed foundations with the destroyed foundations. You want those both to be fairly large numbers, all things considered. Oh, I totally forgot we have the learning harden as a damage pump.
Yeah, it's also a damage pump. That's the thing is, so it's like it's reusing it for the damage pump and then also drawing a new
That actually
card.
might mean Colby dies now because he blocked that second one because he blocked that Vile Season.
So my fear right now is we only have 5 foundations in our stage, and there's still 4 things in our pool.
But we have +1 to our checks, and the cloth capture's on a 3. It's on a 7. The worst we can check is a 4.
Yeah, I mean, cloth capture for 5. Tokoyami still -1ing.
True,
This guy
true,
is
true.
This guy's currently. Yeah, you're right. I think it does still add up. I mean, it's on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 5, 6, 7. Have 2 things. We still have +2 to our check. We still have a brute strength up. We even have a night watch in case there's some cheeky.
We bring this to 7 with learning to harden. We can go 8, 9 with brute strength. Did he draw another cloth capture in the process? I mean,
No, I mean it's currently just erase League of Villains and some other crazy things, right? I mean, we're even at this point using a night watch to cancel calling for backup in hands.
I think so because wait, we have another. No, we got no moves in the hand.
Okay, so it's a 6 speed move. It's 2 in our pool, 6, 7, 8, -1 to our check, right?
Yeah, this is unblockable. It actually just adds up.
Is it just not for like? Is it for lethal or is there a reason?
Yeah, Colby's at 5.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Colby's at 5. The life counters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colby's at 5. This math out because we ate
We ate the big one. Right?
Yeah, we ate
the instant Shining Flash as well,
yeah,
right?
We took 15 from Shining Flash and Whirlwind, and now this is going to completely take us out. It was the learning to harden damage pumps that did us in.
Yeah.
We were so focused, Barrett, on drawing with those and digging for more lethal moves.
You can still tap them sideways.
Kevin was like, "Bro, why would I dig for a 4 damage move when I could just turn these 2 sideways for 4 damage after I ready with my first Whirlwind?" Wow.
While they try and figure out a way out of this, which I don't know if it's going to end up happening, but I mean, it's funny enough is
there's no way out.
As we
there's
go into
no
game
escape.
2,
There's no escape from this Death Eraser head combo nonsense.
Learning to harden is actually learning to harden plus using things like red right's the coolest, which are in this deck were one of the biggest key pieces that people like Jose had ranted and raved, and the reason why this deck got that little extra push. Right, the defense didn't need to be there. It's that little extra of taking an inch and going a mile with your damage pump, right? The things with brute strength, with Grenadier bracers, but you gained a commit for +2 or a flip for +2 that you can then still blow up with brute strength and then get the triggers on bracers. That extra little bit of damage is exactly how we saw it and how it squeaked out just enough to get through Tokoyami's 20 minus all this one speed or -1 damage across the board.
We had to do it in our 3 remaining attacks, right? So we literally just had to say, do our next 3 count to 23? And they absolutely did.
Right.
Between the brute strength and they absolutely did, as Kevin went, I can ready both my learning hardens with Whirlwind, and then use them 2 more times. Sounds like +4 to me. That brings my collective 18 here to the 24 that I needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so going into this games 2 and games 3, though, this is where I want to bring up the previous kind of point that we were talking about. I think that was the hardest game that Colby was going to need to win.
Yeah.
Because not only was he going second, being only second seed versus Kevin's first seed, but the sideboard is really important for Colby, and I'd be very interested to ask him in a post-game interview, regardless of a win, regardless of a loss. I think he has brought in these barrier shields every single game 2 and 3.
Really?
Because I think it's not just doubles up as a defense ability, but he's allowed to use it offensively for extra damage when he goes and plays Twisting Azure Infernos. But the biggest part about it is the defense. And when a character is like... The Eraserhead deck is leveraging a lot of its speed just from +2 from Eraserhead and using late game EXs and getting -1 to your opponent's checks from Twisting Azure Infernos, but the Barrier Shield hand trap out of nowhere, setting something to 0 speed, is that one extra bit of defense that Tokoyami gets to use to block the important one, the Fierce Whirlwind that could be for a ton of damage. You can't just fall into that trap.
Do you think, Barrett, that he sides that in game 2 going first? on the offense, on the play, we bring in the defensive piece.
He kept it going first even when he was on the play. So I think that's how much he's valuing the card.
Do you think, is it possibly, now does he do it when he wins game 1 as well? Do you think it's possibly I'm down a game, I need defense in my deck? It has nothing to do with going first or second.
Yeah.
I think it's the.
It could be that.
But then I'm going down a game.
But it's the I'm going down a game, and then it's also we're even. I still need this. He's going to be on the play next turn or next game.
I think it's the card that we specifically don't bring in when we're up a game and don't need to play defense, and we can play wild and
try
loose.
and push the limit again, right?
Yeah, and then if we get smacked for it, now we'll bring him back in to even this out because I actually have to play defense this game.
Yeah, and again, this is also one of the most volatile turns also for Eraserhead going second, right? It's that turn 2 aggression that Tokoyami is going to be looking for.
It's the age-old battle. It's the age-old battle of surviving turn 2 as Eraser against Tokoyami and Jiro, right? Those two.
Yeah.
Can I say, obviously we're moving on from sideboard talk, but dude, I love figuring out sideboard philosophies.
Oh, for sure.
I love when I can point and go, why is that in there? And then the best players in the game immediately have a paragraph about this is why and when I side this against what decks.
Yeah.
And I love that so much. I think sideboarding is one of the coolest forms of skill expression in card games of all time.
I promise you, and we can only talk about this is a throwaway kind of line, but so there's 2 exploding prides in the sideboard of this Tokoyami.
Amajiki was going to be
only for Amajiki, right? Strictly for Amajiki.
For sure.
Sometimes if I let them go to turn 3, turn 4, the only way I'm going to win is I need to find these cards, right?
Yes, I need a free 6 damage on you directly to your face. Otherwise, I'll never catch up.
Yeah, free burn you as well, and then it's also hey, you're also just not allowed to block this guy, or you lose everything you worked hard for in the past 4 turns.
It's pretty epic.
It's very
pretty
good.
epic. It's pretty epic. And I will say, I guess we're actually not going past sideboard talk, but something.
We're moving on to the other side of the board.
To the other sideboard, yeah, Kevin's sideboard. I was kind of clowning the whole 0 stun hate in our death deck, right? But there is one somewhat style in here, and I mean, look, there was one learning the standards in game 1, and we found it.
Yes, we did.
If we're just
and the frozen was set up to keep going, right? The frozen doesn't specifically work against someone with style, but being able to ready another card in your stage, it's also just another destruction proc, right? So.
Right. Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised it's not in the main deck. I think Blood Evaluation replaced it.
I probably believe that. In game 1, drawing the extra card is more important sometimes, right? But it being a 2 difficulty instead of the 3 diff means that you can kind of go into it going second and probably even have a better build turn as well.
Right.
Again, it's just the one of, so it's one of those things. Are we going to find it? Things like Apathetic and Kevin's sideboard aren't really going to do a lot in this matchup because it's the fire symbol stage, right? A lot of it is pretty blank.
What are you going to flip? His 1 defrosting that he might build?
It's probably the frozen if he finds it. Right,
pretty
that's
much,
the big one.
And you're not, they know each other's deck lists, right?
Exactly.
I don't think Kevin's going, I'm going to side Apathetic here in case he draws his 1 frozen.
Absolutely. Detailing the plan, obviously, there for throw hate, which is not what's happening in this Tokoyami list, but it's also a draws a card, right, on block, as long as you...
It's not a bad card. It is a mid block, though, so
it's a mid. We're not really looking for those kind of things.
It's definitely there for the throw hate, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, mulligans are finishing up on Kevin's side for you a partial, and then we're gonna have to basically see how strong is this opening build turn on both ends of the table.
Kevin got that beautiful build 5 last time, and that was on the play, right?
Yes, it was.
That's what's kind of nice about this deck is because of how many cards you get to see and the potency of specific attacks. You really don't need insane ratios, right? We're right on the dot at 18 attacks in 56 cards, but also we're a 7-hander that draws 2 on face. We're a fake 9-hander, and we've got tons of card draw in the deck. So you're allowed to be a super hardcore aggro deck with a deck like this without having to construct your deck past the normal attack ratios.
Absolutely. And so we found the Revel here. Colby found Revel every single game last round, so it was kind of interesting. It really helps a lot in pushing that extra damage.
Frozen. No, our frozen.
Oh, let me check the frozen. Yeah.
But no. That was he found. When we watched him play yesterday, he found double Revel 2 times, right?
Oh, really?
He opened
that's
double.
pretty good.
Yeah, I think he opened double. Yeah, that was with. No, I think you cast it at one point yesterday. You casted Tokoyami.
I don't think I did Colby at all yesterday. No, I did. No, you're right.
I remember.
He was already on stream.
I remember walking up to you and going, as the prophecy has foretold, Barrett Bryant will talk about Tokoyami.
And I had to do it again today. So, and here I am.
Hey, look. Day 1 we can chalk up to variance of, we picked this, we picked that, and then that was the right pick, this was the wrong pick. Things fell into place. Now, today though, we have no one to blame but Colby. We have no one to blame but Colby being an absolute menace to this event and winning and winning and winning and forcing us to happily come in here and talk about it.
I'm just saying, this is kind of my
This
event.
is no longer prophecy, Barrett. This is pure skill put into work.
That is true. I mean, these are the two most skillful players at our event by results, right? I mean, here we are, first and second place, playing against each other at the end of Swiss and now also at the end of Top Cuts.
Now, let me ask you this, Barrett. Let me ask you this as we continue to talk about the best players narrative.
Okay.
If Kevin hits this back-to-back RLE wins at the end of the season, does that settle the Broberg or Jose best player discourse?
I don't like you put me on the spot.
He's got the biggest grin on his face right now.
I'm a big Kevin Broberg fan.
Watch out, Christopher Bauman's got the sniper rifle.
I know he does,
now,
and
so be very careful.
I'm not betraying my own team here.
But also, Sean O'Brien has a sniper rifle on you too, so
Yeah,
pick
you're
your
right.
poison.
I think if Kevin Broberg wins this, not only with playing a deck so close to Jose Norono's list.
So that's the real crime, right?
Right.
If he wins, all the unfun players get to say, "Well, he only won because of Jose's list."
But here,
it actually, you know what? Now that you've mentioned that, Barrett, I think it just fuels the fire even more if Kevin wins this event.
here's the thing about Kevin Broberg as a player, and I will 100% be on his side of the arena with this. Is this guy changes decks tournament after tournament after tournament.
He does.
And shows up results and finals or wins the whole thing. It's a back-to-back win. Great. He played Momo at the last event. And if there's a deck that's so different than what's going on right here, he won the HLC with Midnight. He has a ton of other wins. He's played characters like Ochako too. This guy can do it all.
He's the Swiss Army knife. He's the Swiss Army knife and the hatchet of Universus. You know, the craziest part too, right, is that, like, you say he won with Momo, right? A lot of people will just go, well, yeah, but we all know Momo is good. That didn't change. He just had to bring it back. But that's not what happened at all.
He changed the symbol on it.
He played a different symbol in a completely different deck.
Absolutely.
The man had 4 UA high in his deck.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that this wasn't some craziness that only... I fell in love commentating that deck all weekend, and then getting to talk about it in the recap video that we filmed. It just... so many times I uttered the sentence, this is a deck that only Kevin Broberg could make and could pilot.
Exactly.
I think you would need a full-on coaching session with him to pilot that deck, at least to anywhere close to what he pilots.
It's just you can't read the guy, man. And as somebody who has also historically played against him, I don't think I've ever sat across from Kevin Broberg and he's played the same deck twice.
Yeah.
I don't think a singular time in the years that I have known this guy, I don't think I have seen him playing the same deck twice in a row, or not even necessarily in a row, just in an event at a competitive level. So at the end of this, regardless of the results, if the question is going to be what's Kevin going to play at Nationals, I bet you he doesn't even know yet.
He definitely
and he's sure not going to tell us because it's going to be something crazy. And then here's the other crazy story on it. If he brought back a deck that he's already played in the past, my mind would be blown. And if he then came also with a brand new deck that we haven't seen him pilot yet, I would also still be blown away.
Kevin just breaks the molds.
He does.
It's the builds, it's the play, it's the change-ups. You can't predict him. You can rarely stop him. He just does it all. He does it all, and he does it differently every single time. The Momo deck is the best example of that. Not only did he find this crazy new build, he played it insanely. I literally talked to a player in this event today. Her name's Alexa. She's a massive Momo fan. And she's like, yeah, I've been playing live Momo for ages. Saw Kevin's Rochester build, saw him win with it, and said, that's actually crazy. I have to play it. And she played it this weekend, and I don't think she did insanely well with it. She came to me and she said, yeah, that deck was really hard to play. I definitely felt like I was not playing at Kevin Broberg level, right? Because not only did he break the mold in that way, he played it like the back of his hand in only a way that he could do. And I think that's what makes Broberg so unique and why I could see him getting these back-to-back wins. But if anyone is here to usurp the prophecy, man, it's Unfun Stuff's Colby Cram. And really, props to Colby for coming up on the scene. Colby has seen tops before, but this is for sure the biggest limelight so far. He is carrying the Unfun torch really well and showing that it's more than just Bromley. It's more than just Tam, Andrew, Jose, all of these super known entities, right?
I'm hurt. You didn't say my name. Anyway, I'm
you're,
kidding.
You're so last year, Barrett.
I am last year, absolutely.
A washed up caster, man.
And I on that same kind of talking about these teams and these histories as well. Not only that, but this is also basically an iteration of Jacob Johnson. Johnson's Tokoyami fire list that he brought to Gen Con. Another unfun stuff player. It's this, this team building, this camaraderie, this, Colby deciding coming to this event. He's all like, JJ, I think you have something really good here. I want to pilot this. I think I can do well. Look where he's at.
That is exactly why I specifically use the verbiage, carrying the unfun torch.
Absolutely.
Literally taking JJ's list as JJ is here at this event, but he's not playing that list. He's judging, and he's watching his Tokoyami student from afar, watching him fan the flames of the return of the fire bird. And oh my god, it's just so freaking phenomenal. So cool to watch. And maybe we should slow down the podcast in a bit, Barrett, because things are getting very aggressive.
Exactly. I kind of want to pan over because now that the first 2 attacks of the turn have gone through, we have an Azure Inferno effect that's live. It's been breaker blocked, but Kevin Broberg is running out of foundations to commit for checks, and now it's all about what's coming later, right?
We have 3 more attacks in the hand with a Summon Dark Shadow in the pool. One of them is a Twisting Azure. I think the issue is we
haven't committed a single card yet to battle the check, so I think we're still in a good spot.
Okay, so here's what we're debating. Do we send in the Azure that gets to 7 for sure right now, or do we...
I think it's the Ruin. Here's the play.
Yes.
I'll put my Tokoyami hat on. I think it has to be the Ruin. We already have +1 to our check for the turn. We need to make the action cards ignore so that we can then play our next Twisting Azure Inferno to use the next action card on. I think you hard play the Azure that's going to be...
Wait, do we have another action in the hand?
You said we had a Summon Dark Shadow, right? Or is that the one we just used?
We have Ruin and we have Twisting Azure, and then we have a third attack.
It's a Giant Ice Wall.
The Giant Ice Wall? Yes. Although that one doesn't feel very great anymore.
No, you have to lead that one into a Summon Dark Shadow in hand, but I thought we have another Summon Dark Shadow in our hand as well.
We might.
I'll pan over.
You said Kevin was... Yeah, no,
we do not. Okay.
You said Kevin was running out of Foundations of Past Checks. He is out of Foundations of Past Checks. We don't have a ready piece on our board. We just have to figure out 19 with these next 3.
And it has to be 2 strong enough moves, right?
I mean, these... Yeah, I don't know if we can do it with 2 moves. This is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with Rebel, 11 with Tokoyami. The Twisting Azure is 7. Is that
4, 5,
18?
6, 7, 11. That's only 18, right?
Oh
and we're at 19. So you have to play a 5 base damage move, which is the Giant Ice Wall. But the only way that it works is if you still have Rebel up, which you can do. We have +1 to our check. Our action card ignores. Even if we...
This is going to be...
We have to check a 5 situation on the... And we have to also... It's a very slow move, though, is the problem.
Oh, my God.
But the Giant Ice Wall does add up to 19.
It does, because if this chunks for 11, we have to do 8 more... Ice
5,
Wall is
6, 7,
5. We have 3 +1 damage on the board. We just have to jam it and not check poorly because that will force us to commit the Rebel. Because this is going to be on an 8. If we check a 3, it's actually a 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, we can pass it, but then we lose that +1 Rebel damage, and it's not quite there yet. But I mean, you have to.
I think you go for it. You're down a game.
I think you just have to.
And the question is, can Kevin Broberg kill you back on 4 foundations?
Right. If you fail it, is it game over? I don't think so. Not directly, anyway. It would be very hard to be game over, especially because we would pass with 4 ready foundations and then, 2 cards in hand? That's fine.
Yeah, and the thing is,
our character's committed. We have -1 to everything.
Even after you sling the Giant Ice Wall, he's allowed to build afterwards, right? Like it's not going to just... It's not an end of the turn situation.
I think the argument is you can throw the Twisting Azure.
I think it's go for it, man.
I agree, it's go for it.
Pick a 3 and not
on an 8,
we
check the
5.
6. We check the 6, Barrett,
you're
because
right.
we're Twisting Azure up. I think the other line that Colby was considering is if I just send the Twisting Azure instead, even if I check bad, it's super fine. It won't kill, but it puts him, to 1/2, and then I can build after, and that's a game set I'm fine chilling with. But Colby said
this
there's
is
no
also
chilling.
The response. Remember, this is only exactly lethal. We're responding with an erase in our hand.
Oh my God,
to
we
turn
had a second erase, and we're 1 shy from lethal now, Barrett.
So the other question too is that this is actually pretty blockable. It's really just dependent on what the card is in Kevin Broberg's hand. If we want to basically get an extra review and take only half instead, because going to 1 is still scary. It turns off any brute strengths that we have.
It's not blockable, is it? It's a 4-speed move, becomes a 2-speed when the -2 comes in. 2, 3, 4, 5. We just
with a race with our character up, right? We could get there. Oh, he's just gonna hard step because we checked a 5. We checked another 5, putting us to 1 doesn't matter. This one's a 4-speed move. Comes in with 1 to 5, -2 on a 3, 2 cards in the pool on a 5, -1 to our check.
Barrett, it's a 4-speed move, +1 from our check. It's a 5-speed move, -1 to Kevin check. It's a 6-speed move. This cannot be stopped.
We do have a 1 mid block.
Okay. We have a 1 mid block, but it's a 5-speed move, 3-speed moves on a 6 with -1 to our check. We have to check a 6, right? There's no 6s in the deck, right?
I'm confused.
I'm also confused.
Wait.
I'm also confused.
2, 3, 4, 5.
4, 5.
-1 to our check. We checked a 6, right? Or yeah, because it was a 4-5 speed move,
Uh-huh.
-2 to 3. With the block mod, it's a
3, 4, 5,
4, 5,
6.
6. We checked a 5, we checked a 4.
Commit
we
our
can't commit our character for only 5. It's over, right?
I mean, he's drawing a hand.
I'm lost.
Are we bad
Was
at...
I wrong? Did it not get his speed? Did it? Okay, yeah. I'm confused. I'm lost on it then. But what are we missing on the speed?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know
All right.
what we're missing on the speed. It's a 4-speed move. Summon Dark Shadow gives it the 1/1. It's 5 speed. Eraserhead made it 3 speed. Our block was on a 3, 4, 5, 6, and we checked a 4 because of Did the Twisting Azure not go off?
That would be my
No,
only question.
it did because we were committing.
We committed earlier, right?
We were committing properly with the +1 of the checks.
Actually, hold on. Wait, I'm thinking. I'm cooking. I actually don't think the Azure Inferno was live.
That must be it. But I felt like we were committing the correct numbers, right? Because we played the Ice Wall on an 8, right? And we committed 2 for it because we checked the 6.
Oh, you're right. So, yeah, I guess I was confused then. Unless there's an extra minus speed somewhere that came from that I don't know about, but
I don't know.
regardless, I don't think Kevin's got a backswing here.
We definitely don't. I mean, we have double twisting Azure, but like we don't. I mean, we have double twisting Azure. I was gonna like.
I just don't think you can pick up enough action cards to get a reciprocated, like, give 2 damage every single time you play.
We're
I mean,
discarding them for
that's what I'm saying. It is
now.
just about stabilizing at 1 health now.
This is just gonna be a poke.
Okay, regardless of the situation, we have to move on, right? So instant shining flash, getting rid of the momentum, and then yeah, it's just about we have to build the perfect defense, and they have to also be the perfect zone.
Yeah, we're
right?
at 1 health, bro.
Yeah,
we're
health.
at 1 health, bro. We got 119 points left.
Yeah.
I don't know what Kevin does
So
from here.
it's specifically. So I think the most important information is going to be
Build
what
very aggressively.
and what are the cards in our hand for block mods. It's a Tokoyami list, right? So we just have to get a glimpse. It looks like we just hold rainbow. We have rainbow.
We have rainbow.
So
We
it's
have-
just
go
about
to Colby's hand. Come on, I want to see
it's just
Kevin's
about
hand. Go
zone
to Colby's
overload.
hand.
I know. I'm doing my best.
Oh, no.
Oh my goodness.
You must be joking. You must be joking.
Okay, I mean, I didn't think I was gonna have to bring it up, but we also cited in the concentrates this game, and
The barrier shield.
which means this is what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, we're gonna draw 4 attacks. I'm sorry, 4 actions, and I wish we had 4 attacks.
Wow.
I wish. I
didn't-
wish.
I like deflated a little bit when I saw the 4 action cards in our hand. But I will say,
That's why I said go to Colby's hand.
here's the multiple things about it though. We have a barrier shield in our hand, and
Yeah,
this
we
is
do.
where I have to put my money where my mouth is on what I said about games 2 and 3, about going into games 2 and 3 with this hand trap, right? Of being able to set something and also trigger a breaker 2. So, because the breaker 2 is efficient in the sense that Eraserhead's Death Eraserhead's line is all about being efficient and playing things correctly, right? And then also if you're just trying to do this really this thing's unblockable kind of bomb done on a Fierce Whirlwind or something, is it going to be enough if my opponent sets its speed to 0 and then breaker 2s me again?
That is the issue. I think, Kevin looks a little pressed right now. He's trying to do some math.
He's
trying
at 1. It's
to,
hard, man.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out. He knows he just got a new lease on life with Colby drawing no attacks.
Tokoyami's not going to whiff twice.
It'd be crazy.
Have we seen it, aside from the Frigid on top of our discard pile, there's just a turn as well where we just start drawing a ton of cards,
It'd
right?
be crazy. It'd be crazy for this deck to somehow draw 7 non-attacks 2 times in a row. It'd be nuts. And so I think Kevin's trying to do some serious math on what makes sense, and he's like, none of it makes sense. And you know what? None of it makes sense, Barrett, without his knowledge of the barrier shield as well.
Exactly. I mean, we have deck list knowledge, and we're now game 2 and 3.
Right.
It's just
We don't know what's in the hand.
right? Until we start checking them.
Right.
With double barrier shield in hand. I thought it was like 2 Summoner Shadows.
Yeah, I mean, I guess review one of those bad boys,
We
right?
reviewed one of them, so we show it off that we brought them in.
No. Okay.
That's all right. Oh my goodness.
God. Oh, Mamma Mia, Barrett. Oh, Mama freaking Mia.
It's also that's a zone check. All of those are high attacks.
Yeah, welcome to Fire Tokoyami, Barrett.
So now we have to pan it over, right? I mean, what were the cards that Kevin Broberg held onto?
I mean, that is the $1 million question, right? What did we build? 3? We have 4
yes,
in
we
hand?
built we are learning to harden, struggling with studies, and a tight-lipped were what we built going
We definitely
into
have a cloth capture, so that's a 1 high block. That's pretty nice.
We did also go into deadlock, but it's okay because we have a Night Watch, right? We can always just cancel a deadlock enhance from like an Ice Storm. That would be pretty hard.
I see exactly 10.
Is it 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're correct. I'm wrong. I apologize.
You old goofball.
I thought there was a 4 stack over here with a tight lips, but
yeah, Kevin's got those big muscular arms, man.
yeah,
They could be hiding some foundations.
I'm waiting for the showing everything. We know we have a raise. It looks like
we
a
have
binding cloth
erase
capture.
in hand. We have 2 highs, a low, and a mid.
There's the 1 low.
No, wait, is that learning standards?
I thought it was.
Oh my God, do we have only one high block? Yeah, we have only one high block.
It
we
is
have,
only
we
one
have
high block.
Erase, Learning, Red Riot's the coolest, and Cloth Cap
I
Trade Hand.
also don't think responding with a race just to stop our opponent from picking a Summon Dark Shadow is the play. We're losing cards in our hand, right?
So I think the thing is that card doesn't do anything in our hand but erase, right?
Yeah.
You know, like pick it. We're never gonna block with it again. We're at
Unless
one
it's an
health.
Azure.
I mean, sure, yeah. But at that point, we can go pick up one, right?
But
We-
we're just going to pick the other mid blocks for it, yeah.
Right. Yeah. We also know that like
That mill doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
Unless there's like if we draw into like a javelin, it could be huge.
Oh, that'd be insane. I've watched Colby do some insane things. I watched Colby do some insane things with freaking Hellflame Javelin, man. That card is bananas in this deck. It is so easy to get to 10 or less.
We actually just saw him win because he easily got to 10 cards left in his deck and selectively committed the the stun hate pieces. He's like, I'm gonna dodge these keeping area safes and just say stun 2 still.
Yep.
And like they didn't do anything, but it was, I'm gonna selectively tap the things that won't be able to be re-readied, right?
I was when I was perusing around in games earlier while not casting. I watched a little bit of his fight against Nick Reagan, and it was very funny because Nick Reagan had a cheerleader on board and was like, "I'm safe from any crazy enhances." And then he plays the Hellflame Javelin, and Nick goes,
You have to cheerlead this
Huh.
one or
"Well, this
I
is
lose.
not worth flashing." But you're gonna commit it anyway.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Okay, I guess I'll let it happen." It was so funny. It was
stun
so
2
funny.
instead, right?
Yep.
It's it's remove a foundation, lose a momentum, or
Yep.
get
he was
selective
like,
committal.
"Well, if I don't die, I at least still have it."
Broberg checking discard pile for sure, checking at like what attacks we have in here, what
Right.
zones do I need,
My
kind
rival's
of
about
thing.
to cycle, so might as well get a little peeksies. And
Yeah.
there's another argument for us maybe keeping the erase in hand because we will at some point in this turn, after we use our high block, which would be right here, right? If we don't draw another high block right there, we have to.
We have to emergency use our character.
Yes, we have to use our high block on
Or
this.
learning to harden. Defensively with a brute strength enhanced.
We do have 2 of those. Maybe we don't get rid of -2 speed yet. Or we at least tried digging for a
use it
high
first,
Yeah,
right?
we tried digging for a high first. Because I think if we're going to want to survive this turn, as much as we need the high blocks, I think we need Eraserhead's -2 speed to everything for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's we do only have like 3 speed hate cards, right? We still have struggling. Double struggling could be the reason we survive this turn, right? It's you only need essentially 2 high blocks to do that, because then
Right.
you can loop one of them, right?
Yeah, that is like the issue. That is the wrench in the plan. That we drew Hellflame Javelin. We just drew Hellflame
That means the
Javelin.
strugglings
Barrett.
aren't going to make it.
Oh, they're not going to make it.
That's the biggest
Doctor,
committal thing you can
Doctor,
do.
what's the prognosis? Give it to me straight,
I think we
Doc.
might be dead.
Give it to me straight, Doc.
I mean,
Oh my
it's
God.
still a ruin. There's another frigid potential
It's
drop
also
two
another high
here.
attack, right? So Kevin
It's
needs to dig for like a million
extra,
highs now.
extra.
Which, yeah, if we didn't have the javelin, this turn would be a little easy for Kevin because he has to high block this. Then he just has to use the learning to hardens to try and like dig for another high block.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, we then erase, seal something, commit our character, dig for another high block, and as long as we find that second one, the strugglings will let us play those 2 high blocks for the rest of the turn, but not when they get committed by the Hellflame Javelin.
I'm actually.
Oh my God, this is so
The thing is, like, again, we also have the frozen, right? So Tokoyami was turned off on the first attack, right? So now that there's another action card. I don't know how many cards we have exactly in deck, but like, are we allowed to mill 5 and pick up another one if we don't get erased again?
Ooh, that's pretty spicy. That's pretty spicy, but
Yeah,
honestly,
but
Barrett,
we're gonna have to get erased again.
I don't think that we need it. I don't think that we need it.
So funny enough is this Hellflame Javelin enhance has to be night watched. I think Kevin Broberg knows that it has to be night watched
That is probably correct.
because
Yeah.
I think he knows that I'm gonna have to use double struggling of studies to survive this turn if it is all high attacks based off of what he looked at in the discard pile and what attacks are remaining in the deck or in his hand potentially.
Now, yeah, that logically makes sense. Now the question is, if we night watch this, and then have to use, I guess we won't have to use our Eraserhead to dig for more high blocks. If we drew another one off that mediator draw from the first attack, because we have one card that I'm not sure about in Kevin's hand right now. He had to have drawn a second high block, otherwise we'd be digging with Eraserhead, right? Unless he wants like off of that erase there, unless he wants to use his learning hardens, try and dig.
When did he draw the card?
It was
I don't
during the first attack. So there should be a mystery card in our hand right now.
Okay, because we responded to erase twice now, right? We've lost
Yeah.
2 cards. We've blocked a thing.
Yeah, we used our mediator on the
Oh,
first
that's what it
move.
was. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we used our mediator on the first move. So there's a mystery card in Kevin's hand right now. If it's a second high block, he's scot-free on this turn. Because we get to high block this right now.
I mean, maybe we still have a frigid enhance to draw 2 more cards. Like, there's a frozen on the board.
He
I think there's a world where Kevin has to, at some point soon, seal his frozen because we're going to lose our foundation.
That might be correct. I think we are declaring the commit to, you have to night watch this, Kevin. If you lose your strugglings, you're for sure dead by block zone checking this game.
I agree.
And
the thing is he willing to take that risk, right?
I don't know.
There's also a world, so there's also a world where Colby is considering tapping down the brute strength so that he doesn't have a destruction out to trigger the learning to hardens.
Oh my God!
I'm not sure though.
You have to night watch it. There's too many messed up things to commit.
I think there's a lot of scary options here, right?
I think your strugglings are just too important. You're 1 health, right? I think your strugglings are just too important.
Yeah, we have a Lobach and mystery card, right?
So tense. So I think we're debating the night watch right now, right?
Yeah.
Kevin's debating the night watch cancel. I think, man, I just don't know. So actually, guys, we've just been informed that the reason they're holding up right now is not that, because obviously Kevin's going to snap night watch this because he knows what to do. What they're debating right now is they're trying to figure out what
our confusion earlier.
The confusion earlier from the Twisting Azure having the -1 speed, guys. So we're going to break for a little bit while we have a couple judges over there trying to figure that out, and we'll be back very shortly. Thank y'all for y'all patience. Coming back next week on AMC's The Walking Dead. Yes, guys, Kevin's dead. Kevin's dead, and we're going to Game 3. Our math was correct. Thank you to our judges. Thank you to our chat. Thank you to myself and Barrett.
How dare they question our Tokoyami math? I'm a Tokoyami resident expert over here, and I just feel a little offended. No,
See, it's perfect, right? Because you have killed immeasurable amounts of people with Tokoyami, and I've been killed numerous amounts of times by Tokoyami. Yeah? If anyone's an expert in dying by Tokoyami as a racerhead, it's me. It's me. And I think Kevin was dead there. So we're going to be moving on to Game 3 now. The math checked out. The prognosis from the doctor came in. I said, give it to me straight, doc, and it's time to move on to our Game 3.
And you know what? Even in that hindsight, that turn that we were in the middle of before we had closed and walked away, I think Kevin was dead
Kevin
anyway.
Was so dead. Kevin was so dead. If he drew like 2 more Heimlungs, I don't know, man. I think it was a pretty moot point anyway. But regardless, something. The integrity of results. Literally, Kevin's freaking thing.
Hey, and you know what? We're totally fine with it. We're totally happy about it. We are ready to go to Game 3, and I think here's where it's going to be. Again, I'm gonna put my mouth where it was again. Barrier Shield's going second now for Tokoyami on the defense, trying to survive against Kevin's offense.
Now, do you think that after drawing like 16 actions in like 1.5 turns,
we maybe sided some out? I would hope so.
Colby's going to go maybe because I saw what Colby sided. He sided 4 cards. He sided the Sugar Rushes out, and then he sided his 2 Aggressive Tempers, and then he sided the 2 Berry Shields and the 2 Concentrates. So he went -2 foundations and +2 actions.
That is actually exactly what we were talking about when Will and I were commentating on Colby's deck, because we were looking at his sideboard, and you look at what's going on, and you're like, wait a minute. We didn't take out Sugar Rushes. We didn't take out Summon Dark Shadows.
Okay.
We just added in more action cards. What has to come out?
He did take out the Sugar Rushes this time.
Well, he didn't last time, but this time he did, which is fine.
But then he did still trade 2 foundations for 2 actions. Now, that being said, though, when it comes to finding those lethal hands, we didn't take any attacks out for actions.
Correct.
So like all that would have changed about those last 2 hands, we would have had more foundations than actions. So not a whole lot of difference. But let's normally I like to chat a little bit on these first build turns because they're usually not super crazy.
But it could be over.
But Kevin built a stage that turn 2s.
Yes, it does.
Grenadier Bracers, double Red Riots, the coolest and tight-lipped. That is a stage that turn 2s.
It does.
Show me a double Twisting Azure. Find a second Erase. It might be over. It might just be over.
You could even end it off with like a Fierce Whirlwind, blow up all 4 of those foundations after you flipped them from the whether it's your tight lips or using the abilities on Red Rights. The coolest, Grenadier Bracers getting us another net +4 damage, +5 from its own ability, right? Like it's you could easily find 20 damage even through -1 across the board.
100%. An easy 5 attacks could be 25, right? Very, very easy. Now, playing all those will be very, very tough without tight-lipped.
I think, again, it's one of those, not having the brute strength, not having a big enough board yet, but hold on.
So Kevin defended his discard pile. He forgot Erase.
Which is okay. You don't need it, right?
Do we have one in hand?
I mean, it's more of like maybe we build until we find one kind of thing.
And we had the double Twisting Azure hand.
Oh, and we don't have an action card to set it
Oh
up.
my god!
All right, okay, just a little blunder on that sense. All the shuffling up and
after what just happened, I would be a little out of sorts too.
But I think this is I think just play out
Erase
the foundations.
Erase
find
hunt.
one in the discard pile.
Yeah, I think we held on to one of our foundations because it's a high block, more than likely.
If anything, this could actually be a really bad bait for Colby to feel like, oh, if he doesn't have an erase in there, this is my opportunity, and then he could overcommit, and then Broberg just backswings him, kind of thing. So it's going to be a scary field,
Man.
and waters to tread for Colby as well if he thinks it's going to be just like a free attack turn, right?
Yeah, and we also, I mean, we have a latent skill in hand. We're starting with an attack and action now. We have Hellflame, Javelin, Summon Dark Shadow, second Summon Dark Shadow coming in into the hand now, and an Ice Wall and a Freezer Burn.
Yeah.
And okay,
Frozen.
okay,
That's
so
a good one, though.
That's a
It's
hefty
an
amount of
important
attack
one to build.
plus a latent skill on board. We could have 3 Summon Dark Shadows. That counts to 19.
It would easily count on 19, especially if Broberg is having to discard a card actually as cost and, giving -2
Yeah,
speed
we don't
for
have the
things.
innate -2, right? Or
Yeah.
not the free innate -2. We would actually have to discard a card without an erase to
And
pick
then
up in there.
Also with Giant Ice Wall, like the stun 2 is going to matter a lot more if we're not getting 2 speed minus on every single thing, right?
Yeah.
The Freezer Burn start is actually quite interesting because I think a lot of with this card is you want to get that ready one foundation kind of thing,
Right.
as long as it checks out very well. Oh, but the Lust for Battle hit here is also going to help us out.
It's pretty spicy.
And there's no erase for us to absorb the check on that one.
No, there's no erase. There's no erase. There's no erase, and it's going to be backbreaking. Although I agree with you, Barrett. I think I would have just led with the Hellflame Javelin here, just because it's not going to do anything anyway.
Yeah,
Whereas,
I don't think we're hitting 10 cards at
No,
all.
if you go Javelin into Freezer Burn, you can check poorly and then get value out of the ready.
It is also like the easiest, it's the easiest one to hold on to for if this turn whiffs, right?
That's true. That's true.
It's still got a high block, right? I mean,
That's true. We're definitely thinking of the future potential here. We're gonna
We
late
are
skill,
fishing.
try and draw some fresh ones. Looks like an Ignite and is that a Twisting Azure? Oh my god.
we'll do a quick pan. He's really good at
Oh
showing
my
us
God.
cards.
He is pretty good. He's very.
Two
It is a
summons,
Twisting Azure. It is a Twisting Azure.
That's going to help as well. Also, if we don't have an erase the killer, discard block. Now, again, this is not doomer mode for Kevin Broberg. We're allowed to still play
No,
good
it's
defense.
just hard mode.
It's just hard.
mode.
But I mean, there's a point where on the first block that Kevin Broberg goes and plays, we check
Right.
an erase and we're okay, right?
It's completely possible.
So I don't want to say that anything this is not guaranteed for anybody. And Colby's attack hand is great, but he still is only on 4 foundations.
Right.
We don't have a ruin.
No.
These action cards are gonna count towards progressive. It's gonna get harder and harder to play them.
So you know why I think we actually opened the Freezer Burn is to get the mill 3 so that it mills us more to try and find Summon Dark Shadow on this first attack. Because we don't have one in our discard pile right now.
Correct.
We have 2 in the hand. But
We can also just hold the enhance though.
We can. We missed out on a little bit of damage, but if it gets blocked, it's irrelevant.
Yes.
But that one damage we could miss out on. Or sorry, that +1 speed, +2 damage from Dark Shadow and Tokoyami.
Yeah.
Not being on this attack could be.
Yeah, I think this is the optimal line. Is you just go play this one. On this one, you
yeah.
do all the extra milling, right? You just go for it. So I think there's a debate to be had that if you're already going to use the Summon Dark Shadow that's in your hand, you do that technically first for the one extra card. Because
Right.
if he checks a Summon Dark Shadow on using a Summon Dark Shadow, or it could be a situation where Colby's going to do this attack turn without using a Summon Dark Shadow at all. So we can pick one up on defense.
I feel like the turn's just too potent to not.
You think?
Your rival's got no erase. You've got double Summon Dark Shadow. You're on a Twisting Azure right now. You have a stun 2 that could come in for the throat, kind of at the end of the string.
This is very blockable, though. A lot of these attacks are very blockable.
It's very blockable. I think we just
Okay, so here we go. If you check a Summon Dark Shadow here is where I think it was wrong, but
that is correct.
But
Yes.
we're good. We're good. Everything's fine. We just didn't find them in the top half of our deck, right? So, and that is the variance of the deck. It is a mill deck. It is how the game works. So
We also have Frozen Lust for Battle, right? The second we have to commit something, it's gonna be snap, commit Lust for Battle, snap, destroy it with Frozen, pseudo +1 speed.
yeah, the Giant Ice Wall is going to be the hardest card for us to play in this turn, and it is one of our only base 5 damage moves.
I mean, we just throw it down on the next one. It would +4 to the check, right?
yeah, not
seems
5,
pretty-
6,
pretty
7,
easy
8.
to me, Barrett.
3 plus. I mean, you still have to tap 2, right? Even if you check a 3. So it's just again, not having the ruin is the hardest part about this kill turn.
Right. We have the double blue card, but no
Yeah.
ruin. Makes it a little awkward. Makes it a little bit I actually do have to pass some checks, but the Twisting Azure and this Summon Dark Shadow are gonna go a long way. We can play the Ice Wall, then we can Summon Dark Shadow again, and then we can play the Javelin. That is very well maybe a lethal line.
It's one of those situations where Kevin has to just be very smart about which attacks he decides to block. I do
Yep.
think that this is probably the one that you decide to do. The deck has plenty of mids, regardless, even it being Eraserhead. So I guarantee that he has one in his hand.
The
Right, he has his
Twisting Azure,
own
yeah.
twistings, right? So it's just a decision on where he decides to block could determine whether or not how far Colby keeps going, right?
Yeah, the issue is that like we get like 2 blocks max,
Max,
right? So we gotta,
maybe if we check well.
yeah, I mean we have surviving the final and we have struggling with studies.
Oh, that's true.
So I think
Struggling
and
is
we
the good one.
have somewhat style. So I think we get 2 blocks.
So we're just doing the straight discard for -2 speed
Straight
here.
discard for -2 speed.
We're gonna
We
go
have
for
the
fierce
slightly
whirlwind
better.
block. Check
Yeah.
the 5 on it. So we're again we're doing just fine. It's just not optimal.
Right. Or is that we've survived the finals? Yeah.
Yes, we did. Yes, it's flipped upside down. We've already got it used. So now it's just a question of like if Colby even plans on playing 1 more attack or let alone 2 more attacks.
Yeah.
Is it? Kevin's allowed to block another thing.
For sure
We're
allowed to
allowed to
block
struggling with studies, pick our fierce whirlwind back up. Like, does Colby want to allow Kevin to do that?
Right. And like, what's the alternative? Right. If we stop
Build
here,
2 or
we-
whatever.
I think we have 1 foundation in hand, right? Because we have 2 attacks, summon Dark Shadow, and then the 1 foundation. Yeah, the
Oh,
ignite.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
it's a
build
little
1.
it's a little awkward, but maybe not the worst thing in the world to just pump the brakes here.
He's thinking about it.
Yeah, it feels awkward to have committed the 2 cards to the attack that did nothing. Like
I'd
maybe
say call out the low block, but yeah, I mean, check's great on it, doing great. Colby for sure, getting 1 momentum from here just from the easy poke on the freezer burn, but I'm sure he does not feel great about not being able to capitalize Kevin Broberg not having an erase in our discard pile.
yeah, because like if we go through this whole turn cycle back into Kevin's defense without finding one, that would be insane.
I think that would be
That would
absolutely
be
outrageous.
crazy daisy. But at the same time though, right? If we pass here, we get to still no erase.
Don't have an
Holy
erase,
cow.
but enough foundations to build to feel good
True,
about
true,
it,
true,
right?
true.
Like,
And also, like if we pass there as Colby, right? We get to save this Hellflame Javelin for when we do get to 10. We get to save a Summon Dark Shadow for a double Summon Dark Shadow next turn, and we get to save that giant Ice Wall now that
we
we've
drew
packed
one.
the momentum.
we do have an erase in our hand.
We do?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
It's far left card in his hand. So.
Absolutely gorgeous.
So again, we've hit the safe game state. So now Broberg just has to kind of create his plan of attack.
We have 3 attacks in hand, which is not like the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah, remember we pitched a twisting and we blocked with a fierce whirlwind last
Yep.
turn, right?
We got all the damage on board though, right? We got bracers, tight-lipped, double red riot,
Yes.
brute strength. The damage is here and ready to rock and roll, but we do need that quantity of attacks. We don't have any of our draw power, right? No mediators to use offensively. We don't have any learning hardens to draw with. We can for sure get some pokes off because, like, obviously, Colby had more attacks he wanted to play. They're clearly in the hand.
And
but-
Kevin knows that, right? You build
Right.
1 pass after playing it at Summon Dark Shadow Enhance, like absolutely.
Yeah. Clearly, your mindset shifted at some point in that turn. There are scary, aggressive pieces in your hand. Even if I can't kill you, I gotta start poking you and getting them out of your hand.
Yeah,
'Cause, I mean, imagine if Kevin had been allowed to hold that hand in sculpt. We'd have 5 attacks right now, and I think Colby would literally just be dead.
Yeah, and Kevin for sure hesitating on deciding if this is even the turn to do this. We were actually instantly going for the. We did a Red Ride's the coolest for the extra +2.
We
did
want to turn on the Azure Enhance without like losing a card. I think is
so
what's going on here.
what we have done is we've blown up a foundation with Brood already. We got -1 by Tokoyami. We flipped 1 for +2, and I think we lost a vitality for 1 as well.
Yeah.
So then we triggered the enhance. We've got it at 2 speed now, and so it's just about like maybe that was the destruct. I don't know. We destroyed 1. Maybe that was a brute strength, and I just missed it.
Yes, I think we Red Riot and we brute
Oh, we
strength.
tight-lipped for +1. That's what it was. Yeah, we tight-lipped for +1. We flipped a ready thing that we didn't need.
Yep.
But yeah, we're
That
for
was
sure
large.
live.
So Colby's lost some amount of health because we just ate that Twisting Azure
we
on the
did.
chin.
Well,
We-
again, most of the mid blocks in our deck are cards we want to hold on to. Summon Dark
Right.
Shadows. Remember we have a high block because of the Hellflame
got-
Javelin, and we also have a giant ice wall. on
Yeah,
our
we got
hand,
Kevin
right?
at 14 and Colby at 11 right now. It's kind of a scary place to be. I feel like with that huge chunk of damage to the chin, Kevin might be feeling a little adventurous now. He might be feeling a little like, oh, maybe I should continue here. Let's see what this final season gives me.
I think Hellflame Javelin block here is going to be really good.
Yeah.
I think holding the giant ice wall with 0 stun hate pieces on your opponent's board with a momentum says we can commit 4 next turn, which I think is going to be better than selective commit 2 from Hellflame.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's if we even get to the Hellflame number, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we might, but it would take a little minute, and by
gonna-
then
yeah.
his pieces might be committed out anyway.
It's relying on like seeing frigids or
Yeah.
not.
Whereas you could just open with stun 2
Yes.
across your first 2 moves. Way
And the
way
mix-up
better.
low. I think the mix-up low is very good
It
against the
is-
Eraser
it
Head
is
list
fantastic.
because it says you have to hold on to a red right. It's the coolest. I think none of the attacks I think have low blocks on them. So it's like if you stopped attacking, or it's the instant Shining Flash. I'm sorry. That's like the only one. And by then we've already used our
We
momentum
will
cost.
already have spent our momentum by then, so it is A-OK. It is A-okay. And, I mean, offensively, Colby Stage is not doing a lot, but, like, the right hand makes that, a complete non-factor. We drew another cloth capture. Kevin is going to go for it.
The lows are enough.
Kevin,
the lows are enough.
Kevin is going to go for it.
I think there's no reason not to, right?
No. Mm-mm. You have played your action. Those are 3 diffs. You go
Yes.
on a 5 with +1 on my check, then you go on a 6 with +1 on my check.
We have the damage.
Discard one of your cards. Damage. Oh my god. I think that one draw changed it all.
And I think it's also all on the hands of, like, it's up to Colby. Like, especially if he eats something like this. I don't think there's a world where we do, right? But, I mean, the biggest thing also could be, like, if the checks end up being terribly abysmal, we could defensively destroy a... No, I don't think we can't defensively destroy. Frozen specifically says your turn. There's actually no way to get that Lust for Battle in our pile.
There is not. And I don't even think it would matter, Barrett. I think
Yeah, you think you can just check terribly and still get there?
Yeah, if we check, the worst we can check are 4s, right? If we check, we're going to go on a 5, on a 6.
Yeah, you're right.
We've got way more than 3 things to
100%,
commit.
100%.
We could play a 3rd move at that point and still check bad on that by committing 3, including our character.
Yeah, so this is the one
we
you
could
have
check
to
3
block.
more moves on rolling 3s/4s. Yeah.
So then the question then also is, do we instead block with the Giant Ice Wall for the breaker and maybe try and deter him? Because, I mean, Kevin has to go.
That's what we're going for.
Kevin has to go with the idea of, like, oh, he probably has a low block in his hand, right? And then I don't kill anymore.
Right. Although think about it this way, right? We built one past and we held. We clearly had more attacks in hand. What are the attacks that are low blocks in Colby's deck?
Kevin says
it's
no.
Freezer burn.
Kevin says no. I think I got this.
No, 100%.
Oh, we also
100%.
we built the one of someone with style.
We did.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
We did build the one with someone sound. No. This is literally complete decimation right now. That one draw changed everything. We drew a second cloth capture, which is another attack, and because we have the first one, a discard out of Colby's hand. That's like an extra 2 attacks off that one draw. It literally changed everything.
It did.
Barrett.
Absolutely, it did.
It completely recontextualized the poke turn, and that's what this deck is famous for.
It's even
right?
the world. Even think back, right? Yeah, the fact that we didn't sling this on the board, right? We didn't make Kevin Broberg have to block this and potentially lose one of these cards that he had. He could have been blocking with that Binding Cloth capture instead, and instead we now have this one plus the extra one that we drew.
Yep. It changed everything. And again, this is what we've seen time and time again with this deck, right? It embarks on the turn without guaranteed lethal, but it has all these pieces to draw, to dig, the Vile Seizing draw, the Learning to Harden draw, the offensive mediators going back and forth, popping off left and right, whoopsing into these kill turns. And honestly, it's funny because, right, this is like the Jose and Bromley deck originally, and they're also famous for the Gamer Toga deck, which is the exact same thing, right?
Yeah.
You embark with these innocuous attacks, you draw, discard, you
Figure it out. You excited for blood, you whatever.
You future charge, you excited for blood, you back alley draw, you do all of these crazy things, and then whoops, whoa, there's all my tongue whips, son killer. The same thing, but whoops, here's all my twisting ashers, here's all my cloth captures. The fluidity of the deck is so cool. It also really takes me back to casting like the Mimic decks that we've seen a lot recently.
Oh, yeah.
Where they just kind of poke you, check an asset, and go, well,
Ooh, I'll pick thing
if
up.
I grabbed this, you could be dead now.
Yeah.
I'm now thinking about a kill turn, and that's like exactly what's happening here. And it's like, oh man, it just makes me so excited. The fluidity of the game and the pivoting, right? It makes you pivot and have to make those decisions of, is this where I'm going with this now? Do I have to restructure my mindset? Is this what
This
I'm
is
embarking
an
upon?
enhance on Summon Dark Shadow. This
Whoa.
means we're allowed to block something, right?
No. I mean, this.
Or that was the block? I think, okay. It looks like it was just actually... I think the check is too difficult, right? It was too fast.
I think that's correct. No,
So, we
it-
plus 2 speed. We
yes.
enhanced on Summon Dark Shadow here to go for a block.
So it is, yeah, it is an enhance.
But we don't have another block.
We have a high block, yeah, right? The Health of Javelin's a high
Yeah.
block, right? Why do
Is
this
that just the
now?
bait? Is that just the
We
bait for
might,
Kevin
we
Broberg?
might die for that.
Because here's the thing, as soon as Kevin Broberg sees Colby not block this move after getting +3 to his check,
He goes, cool, say,
oh, you just don't.
say goodbye to your
You're
last
just
god,
you're just-
Spider-Man.
You're just playing
Say
zone
goodbye.
Yahtzee, right? You're just
You're not playing
gambling.
any Yahtzee. We have one card in hand, and this discards a card. There's no Yahtzee.
You're
There's no
right.
variables,
Wow. It's
Barrett.
actually just
It's actually just pure
it is.
decimation.
And there's
the
the
second
handshake.
cloth capture comes down and brings this to an utter close as I discard your last card out of your hand, and then Colby, in a hilarious fashion, goes, "Hey,
It was a high
I
block
couldn't have
anyway.
blocked it anyway, you
It
big
was a
goofball.
incredibly good bait play. I'm not gonna think like that kind of mind games is exactly what you need in a finals match.
Colby
right?
realized that was his only potential out,
Yeah.
right? It was only potential out because he was like, I could keep this to block another low attack with, but I can't.
You can't pass it. It's too fast.
It's 6 speed. My block's on a 9. I got 2 measly things to commit. The only way I do that is if I summon Dark Shadow right here and then hope he throws a high attack as the next one. And Kevin said, not only
man,
am I
it's
not
another
throwing a
low.
high attack, I'm
It's gonna get
throwing
rid of
this
the last
low
one.
that says the last card in your hand is going forever, bringing Kevin to back-to-back
I can't
regional license exam victories, re-ushering in his status as the GOAT. If you were one of those crazy souls out there that ever thought it left.
That's true. I mean, this is our world champion right here.
It's our world champion.
I don't know how else you can, again, everything we were saying about him earlier, about playing a different deck almost every single time he goes into a tournament, then performing and winning the whole thing. This is somebody else's deck. Of course, he's one of the best pilots and drivers that's out there, but we've seen this iteration of this deck be successful competitively, and Kevin's like, yeah, I can do it too. Of course I can. I'm the world champion. I can do it too, just like the rest of them. That's actually going to tie up also our Rochester versus Unfun stuff, if you're tracking at home, of who's doing well in the regionals lately. That, you know what that means? It's our last one. This is the end of the regional season, Levi. It's Nationals time now.
It's Nationals time, baby. It's Nationals time. And, honestly, there's all the talk, right? The Unfun versus Rochester, the King's Court Gaming heels thrown into the mix, the Broberg versus Nerono. There's all these factors. But truly, these RLEs, that's not where it goes down. It's at the Nationals events,
Absolutely.
baby. But for now, Barrett, we're going to revel in yet another RLE victory by Kevin. And of course, we're going to get both of our competitors behind the microphones, under the headsets here in the chairs to talk to us. And of course, as an extension, you guys back at home about their insanely fantastic tournament runs. I, of course, cannot wait for, the 19th time in my casting career to talk to the pleasant human that is Kevin Broberg. Or maybe I'll let you do, Barrett.
Whoa, no. I don't know. I as much as I would love to talk to Kevin Broberg, I should, of course, interview the Tokoyami list. I think that should be one of the situations, but we'll find that out behind the scenes. Who knows who you're going to see come up next, but regardless, we're going to get incredible interviews from our exciting, explosive finals between these two massive decks and massive characters and massive players. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back here shortly with those post-game interviews.
Biased Tokoyami player interviews incoming.
Welcome back, Universus fans and players at home. I am joined right now with Colby Cram, our second place finisher at the regional license exam, piloting this Fire Tokoyami list. Colby, congratulations. First of all, you did incredibly well. As a teammate with you as well, I'm super proud. I'm super happy that you got this far. Let's talk about your tournament run just in general. Let's talk about Swiss yesterday, kind of leading into today.
Okay.
How'd you do?
Okay, so we started 4-0.
Yeah.
I played Deku 2. We 2-1'd him. Then we played, I can't remember how I lost the game I lost.
Right,
then Ochako won. The only game I lost there is because he opened, on turn 2 he went Kraken.
Ooh.
And froze my board down. I only had 4
yeah.
build. And then I played Overhaul or Endeavor 1. I don't remember the order I played them in.
Regardless, though, you got the wins on both of those guys. Was it Life Overhaul, Earth Overhaul? What did you see more of?
It was Life Overhaul.
Okay, for sure. That wasn't our top cut one. We had an Earth Overhaul in our top cuts today. So it was one of those kind of that was the story that we saw a lot on even on stream for the Life Overhauls.
It was the Overhaul that beat JJ and Swiss at Gen Con.
Oh, perfect. That's funny, too, because here you are with a similar kind of a precursor or predecessor now to it in that same kind of idea. So for Swiss, 4-0 out of our 6-round tournament. So feeling great, right? Like having to – then you got paired into Broberg now,
right? Yeah, I got paired
into
into Kevin. At lunch we were talking about I was like, Kevin, I don't think we can ID if we get paired. I think there's too many people that are going to be playing, so we won't be able to ID. And then round 4 happens, and then there's – the way the draws worked out in the event, I got paired against Kevin, and I sat down, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure we can ID this
right.
one. And he was like, yeah, if you say we can ID, we can ID. And then so we did that.
He's pretty chill about it. We did it at the HLC as well, and it was just like, first, second seed, we'll figure it out on tie breaks. And then, 5th round, you also didn't play that one, right?
Yeah, I didn't play 6th round either. I got paired into somebody who was, if they lost, were probably out. So they were willing to ID in because they would ID in it, like the ID'd in it. I think they got 5th seed. They were 4th or 5th seed.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I mean, it helps out for your tiebreakers for sure. But then, boom, going to today, 2nd place out of Swiss, right? I mean, so you got to go first essentially all day until what we just saw. Your first match opponent in Top Cuts, real quick. We didn't see that one on stream, obviously.
Sure. I played Nick Reagan playing Deku 2.
Deku 2, that's right. We saw that deck on the stream yesterday. Yeah. Kind of a team kill in that sense. That's obviously not fun.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
But how did that one go? Was it fun? Explosive with the one checks?
I 2-0'd him. In game 2, I killed him with Freezer Burn.
Oh,
he was at 6, and he was at 7. So Tokoyami for +1.
Probably 2 summons.
He was at 8. So Tokoyami and 1 summon to 6. And I milled 3 and hit Aggressive Temper to kill him.
I'd seen you cite those out almost all day today. You're kind of making room for more action cards. But that's a pretty fun way to end that match in that sense. So then top 4, we did get to watch that one.
Right, against Midnight.
Yeah, exactly, which I thought was phenomenal. I interviewed Brandon afterwards. Just kind of this idea of like, I mean, by top 4 at that point, we had 3 7-handers and 1 6-hander, right? And kind of the story. I feel like a lot of competitiveness. You either have these, aggro 6 hand sides characters. We're saying Midnight was kind of already doing that. There's just a bigger list, right? And then now you have all these other 7-handers as well. And then boom, all the way to finals, as we just kind of watched. Right. Kind of tell me, go to your play-by-plays for that match specifically. It was obviously you're only second, which can be harder.
Right. So game 1, I drew 1 attack before his kill turn, and then I drew my 2nd attack of the game on his kill turn.
Yeah.
So I was never going anywhere that game, especially because he didn't poke me.
Yep. So you can't even cycle it out.
He made the comment on his turn 2 that, well, I guess we're going to find out whether or not I'm right about this never poke Tokoyami theory. So couldn't mill, couldn't get to SCS.
Yep.
And then we just couldn't draw orange.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't even attempt to try and go for it before he can just like, oh, I found enough, right? Yeah. And then game 2, you pulled out. Obviously, we had the game pause and everything. We were over here being like, "Oh, you got it. You got the win." I'm over here. I'm here. I'm helping you on this Tokoyami math over here on this side of the camera. It got resolved. We good to go. It was a very clean line, even from what we were seeing in the follow-up line. I 100% thought you had it, regardless.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I had lethal when we paused.
So, and that was really so. It ended up being it was going to end that way, regardless. And then all the way to game 3. My biggest shout out to you is I actually really liked that play at the end where you did the Summon Dark Shadow Enhance to call out. Essentially, we had the high blocks, and he went double low,
Yeah.
and like he drew that cloth capture in the middle of that turn. So that was not how it was going to originally pan out. But you hate to see it in that same sense on these low vitality 7 hand size characters, but they played just enough tight defense, and it was just like just barely enough to get through that wall, basically, regardless of how many foundations we had or if you had the right cards to block with. But I thought the breaker block was incredible. I really wanted you to hold on to it, obviously, because you had the momentum to go in, and he had no ways of protecting himself. But it was the right play, the breaker maybe being a way to deter him. So I thought, all in all, you both played incredibly well. Again, congratulations on your second play finish. I want to go further into the deck specifically. This is very close to what we saw Jacob Johnson running at Gen Con, another teammate at Unfun Stuff. The decision to play that today, I know you were only kind of briefly talking about it last week on whether you're deciding to play. Why did you end up on this one?
So I've been playing a lot of Death Shigaraki 3, like a lot. And I was just kind of burned out on playing Death
okay,
3.
fair enough.
I also only really like Death Shigi 3 in a meta where I think there will be a bunch of Eraserheads.
Right.
Tokoyami's also good into Eraserhead, but Shigaraki 3 you can play Eraserhead plus Erases in the sideboard.
Correct.
And I think you win the pseudo mirror into Eraserhead as Shigi 3.
Yeah, the block checking and messing with them, and Eraserhead going through enough cards and making the decisions if they want to stop you from drawing cards. You can kind of outgrind them sometimes.
And so I think if you don't think there's a bunch of Eraserheads, you just play E-Head.
Yeah.
And I drove here, and I didn't want to drive 10 hours then play Eraserhead the next day.
That's also fair.
So, and I've been playing that since Gen Con. I've been playing the Fire Tokoyami list off and on. And then I played Chaos Tokoyami at the online Nats last year.
Perfect.
Where I barely missed HLC. So I've been playing like Tokoyami a bunch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was easy to shift into it. JJ had proven the deck at Gen Con.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as I'm aware, he's even still interested, I think, in playing it at Nationals, or at least considering the deck.
Yeah, I think it's on his short list.
The biggest thing, and kind of we talked about it on stream, so I want to get your opinion on it as well, just because it is one of those things. The Fire Symbol has a ton of action cards, and the majority of your sideboard specifically, and depending on the number you want to play in the main board, I mean, you're playing 6 action cards in your sideboard, right? And the idea is like, when do certain ones come in? I think I saw you bring in Barrier Shields all day.
If you go after game 1, the game you're going second, Barrier Shield comes in, I think, no matter what.
But I felt like you had them even in game 1, or when you were going first sometimes. Like you felt like it was. I think Midnight you kept them.
Yeah, because she had so much speed, right? So I brought it in the Barrier Shield against Midnight.
Yeah, and I thought it was a great call. I thought you did the right thing. There was a point in Brandon's game against him that he had all 3 repeateds, and that turn he was going in to try and kill you. And I went, even if Brandon went to play out this entire turn, Colby's winning because of this Barrier Shield choice. Like, because he'd kept them in the third game, he's going to survive when they eventually come down. And I thought that was I had to eat my own words, because I didn't think keeping them in, or even necessarily like having all these like blue cards in the deck, was worth the play. And you proved me wrong, and it was incredible. And you carried it through every time we saw you on stream, that the Barrier Shields mattered. You always had them, and if you needed them, you could pull it out. And so I think it's the idea of, in the same sense of the Eraserhead list, having just enough good defense, that one really impactful breaker 2 block. Heck, sometimes a breaker 4 block or a breaker 3 block with the other.
I stormed, and I think it was the overall game. Barrier Shield, I stormed them
for a breaker 4, and it's just like that one being enough against some of these other aggro decks that have to play very tight lines in their card pools. And Tokoyami says, well, I get help from my blue card. We can be just fine on that. My biggest thing to ask you leading into this is, we're now done with the regional seasons. Nationals is the next big event. I hope you're going. I hope this perfect. And of course, you have your invite, obviously, from today and everything. Are you thinking about kind of staying here? Are you going to go back to Shigaraki? You don't have to tell the world, but what are you thinking?
They're both on the short list for sure, right?
Absolutely.
I would say at minimum, they each have like a 33% chance of being played. Like at the worst, those are probably the worst odds.
What's that third 33% maybe?
Probably the rest of the pool.
My heel turn go overhaul for sure, right? Awesome. Well, Colby, congratulations.
Thank you.
It is always a pleasure to see a teammate do well. I love seeing you in person. You're always a ton of fun to hang out with. And with that, we are going to cut away to another break. Levi is going to be back with our regional license exam champion, Kevin Broberg, with his Death Eraserhead. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, Universus. I've got with me your 2-time RLE back-to-back champion, Mr. Kevin Broberg, proudly displaying his pedigree all over his shoulders right now. And man, Kevin, how does it feel to just do it all over again? I feel like we were just doing this.
It feels brand new, really, because so last time I had a new deck. This time I have an old deck, and it's like a little here and there, a little touch. mostly it's Jose's deck,
Right.
and
That's the elephant in the room, right?
we're taking it for a spin, and I have a lot of fun.
Dude, it was amazing, man. Watching you play that deck. I mean, watching that deck play is always insane, right? It's a very
Yeah.
explosive, very, very combo-heavy deck, and watching it assemble its pieces is awesome. You know, is that like what was the allure of it, right? What made you go, that deck right there, I'll snag it?
Yeah, so precisely what it was. Actually, the historical fact is that Ryan Field handed it to me and said, like, we're like testing this, and if you want to test with this, at home or like take it maybe to the regional, we can, I'll take it with you. And so that's why my deck is many more XRs than I usually play with. It is almost 100% XRs.
This is a little blinged out. What's the almost 100%? What's the
Yeah.
0.001?
Well, there's a couple promos don't come in XR,
That's fair.
and there's also a League of Villains that is in ultra rare.
Oh.
It is not XR.
Well, that's blasphemy.
Because that was
I have to take these
a little
from you now.
bit of
That's blasphemy.
that's a little bit of the flavor I had. We gotta
Okay.
try a little 4 fast sets that we can just play on turn 1 every time and never check a 3.
Dude, when you did
We
that
are
in that
very
one
skilled.
game, man, and like the way you like dramatically made
Yeah,
the
you
check.
gotta slap it.
Oh,
I
dude.
learned that was I learned that before I had any results to my name. I learned if you slam it, you always check a 5.
Oh, this takes me.
And, if you don't slam it hard enough, the game knows and it punishes you with the bad check.
Okay. That's actually true because back in Kansas City, when Mark Tyner was playing Recovery Girl, he slammed the top pro heroes as his first home on turn 2 and checked the 3. He had to come at Recovery Girl
His
and
chi
dive.
wasn't aligned that day.
Oh, yeah. His chakras were a little out of whack. Man, that's how you got to win, right? You
Yeah,
on the chakras.
there's a lot of mysticism you can bring to the game, and I think it's
Oh my God.
perhaps not empirically backed, but like we got the Shogun look going on. Like maybe there's something to
Right,
it.
it's all in theme, dude. I can't do you, Kevin. Tell me about the run, man, because like obviously we didn't see much of it yesterday. This was the first time we brought you on stream was at the beginning of today, so we know what your top cut action was like, and we'll talk about that too. But what was the global Swiss rounds?
My strength of schedule was actually preposterous because the lowest rated one of my opponents was Jeffrey Kahn in 9th place. I played Will Anderson in round 1. He went on a tear, and I think did he draw in? I don't know the details, but obviously high placement. I played against Rappa, who was my round of 8 opponent in round 2.
Okay.
I played against.
So you guess it's a rematch.
Yeah.
That's hype.
I played against the 2 overhauls. I'm blanking on names, but
Gate Captain.
I forget which order. I think it was the Earth first, then Jeff.
Okay.
And then I was 4-0, and I got paired into Colby in round 5. And Colby is very good at the bracket math and said, I think we can ID.
Yeah.
And so I said, I can ID.
I did notice that. So you guys almost had the rematch, but instead you had the, hey, we ID'd
we
the
had
first time.
We had the delayed, we ended up being seeds 1 and 2, and we ended up playing in the finals.
We ID now, but tomorrow, it's for all the marbles.
Save the energy, and clearly, everyone else was exhausted from the extra rounds of battling, and we got the top player privilege to take a little break.
Sick. It was definitely heartbreaking that you did have to go against Jeffrey Kahn again.
Yeah.
I think so. So it's really funny. I don't know if you know this, Kevin, but lately a lot of the unfun stuff, guys, mainly Tam, kind of made a call to action that it would be really cool if we had like a site or a program or a spreadsheet that tracked the statistics of player matchups across all the events.
Right. Yeah.
And then I believe Ben Lambright actually went and put a bunch of it into action. I think Tim Keefe helped him with it as well.
Yeah,
with,
helped
the
with some
code.
of the scripting, yeah.
Right. And they found out that the most common match across the whole competitive circuit is you and Giggles.
Yeah.
It's you and Jeffrey.
We end up going to a lot of the same events. It kind of makes sense. We're with, Road Warriors. So
Right. Also, both very good players. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to meet at the top very, very often. It makes sense, but it's still, man, it really, really hurts the rivalries a bit when the Orange boys have to take each other out. And I think that was really the highlight of this weekend was a lot of the rivalry was on display. Huh?
Yeah, for sure.
It was fantastic to watch, man. Did you have a hardest matchup the whole weekend, Kevin? What was your hardest game, bro?
I want to say it was Will. I don't know if I had to pick one game of our sets, but I think I had 2 out of them in Swiss, and they were like real close. Both games were real close. I know I checked a 5 to live in one of them, and then Amajiki's such a dynamic character. There's so much that can go on, so much that can happen.
You have to keep track of his like 19 buttons every turn cycle.
19 buttons. Yeah. And there was a lot of actually I got to do a lot of instant Shining Flash stuff, which was very nice in that matchup. But then he had. I feel like he built like Vast Hybrid plus Sun Eater on turn 1, like an awful lot. And then he would build the Vast Hybrid into momentum. I would instant Shining Flash, and he would replace it with Sun Eater. And he'd be short on foundations, but he'd still be stacked on the momentum. And then it would be really interesting dynamic plays where the breaker ones from a race would come up huge. There would be and just all kinds of stuff going on. and how he's going to use his once per game, how's he going to use his once per turn, how's he going to do it's so much,
he's
so
gotta be
dynamic.
ready for him to potentially do so many things, and for him to also actually do so many things. Yeah, those are tough matchups to navigate. Obviously, like there's only so much we can talk about your deck, as it's very similar to the ones that have been played in the past, right? But at the same time, the way you played it was very impressive, and so it's a lot more fun to talk about your matchups and your run as a whole. I gotta ask you, Kevin, with the performance this weekend, is this something you're considering for Nats?
I think anyone who trusts themselves to navigate the games with the racer head, because actually like my overhaul matchups were all similarly kind of insanely, not even just like complex, but like so weird. So many games where I would be tapped out and passing blocks with -2 speed, then play a race, or just there's a lot of things to consider in every game, and if you give up a lot of those edges, the deck doesn't play itself for you. It doesn't have a lot of really overwhelming nut draws where and also there's like too much to calculate in a lot of cases. I know I asked Jose in one of my games, I had a spot where I could potentially have taken a line where I would like draw 2 cards. I would go into an attack turn. I would need 1 more attack, and it's like, okay, am I going to when do you play a race to draw 2 cards to find that last attack? Like, how do you prepare for that? And he kind of said, I kind of don't really.
You just have to do it. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
That's the meme, right? When he was fighting the Bakugo on stream of the webcam.
Yeah,
RLE.
you said, well, clearly it's time to go, and it's all or nothing. So we're not going to calculate because I know I'm dead next turn. So we just got to shove it all in. And so you have to be a strong enough player to be able to develop that intuition and then trust your intuition and trust your force and head for the Garden of Madness.
Definitely one of the scariest risk assessment plays in a deck that I have ever seen.
Sorry, Toga.
Yeah, well, with those falling off of you, maybe it's finally time for me to let you go, Kevin. I will say congratulations again, of course. And while I'm sad I don't have a massive tub of red vines to hand you this time, it does look like you're already wearing more than enough pricing on you. Don't want to overload you, my friend. Thank you so much for chatting with me, Kevin. Thanks for always being an amazing, wholesome, fantastically positive member of the community, and just continuing to show that also gets you places as far as the competitive.
Thanks for everything you do, Levi. It wouldn't be the same without you.
Thank you, Kevin. I really, really appreciate that, man. This has been a blast, and I'm sure I will see you again very, very, very soon.
I'll be in Dallas,
Texas, baby. I can't wait, guys. I'm gonna let Kevin go enjoy all of his goldness. I'll let him go add another golden dual needle lunge to his collection. Hand it over to Sean O'Brien and say thanks, pal. And of course, stay tuned, guys, because I'm gonna gather my lovely, lovely fellow casters. I'm gonna tell you guys so long and good night. We'll be right back. Viewers, don't go anywhere.